Hey, what's up and hello? This is the Chris Nicole bringing you my views on life, love, and the world of entertainment through my eyes. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on what time you are watching this live. Hello, crew. Hope all is well. Make sure you hit the like button on the way in. Yes, I know. Chris Nicole, why are you on live when you said that you were not going to be on live for a while? Well, you know what, crew? I have to play catch up with Ready to Love and this other show. And since I've already missed like two or three shows each, it's just easier to do a live. So for those who are like, wait a minute, I wasn't expecting this live, my apologies. You can listen to it later, or hopefully you can chime in now if you are available. So we are going to talk about Ready to Love. Okay, we're going to talk about Ready to Love. I have a lot to say. Baby, I have a lot to say. I got my notebook, okay? That's when you know I got a lot to say when I got my notebook, all right? I am disappointed in Tay. I am so disappointed in Tay. Ladies, we have to do better. But I'm going to start from the beginning and we can definitely talk about it and you can chime in and let me know how you feel about Tay and everyone else because you guys told me you've been watching this show from the beginning that once they get into the house, the true colors come out. Well, baby, the true colors are out. All right. So let's get started. So they are having their getaway. They have left the city of Philadelphia and they are in the woods somewhere, child, in this nice house. But before we get to the house, Sahara and I butcher names, Sahara and Cam, they are literally like all cuddled up and like chilling or whatever the case may be. They cuddled up because I guess they trying to feel the romantical moment. I actually think they look cute together. I do. I do think they look cute together. I think they actually would work better together too, because he is not religious. He's not even spiritual from what he says. And I don't know about Sahara. She says she knows she does her little witchy thing. So I think they would be great together. But with that being said, I'm kind of side eyeing Cam at this point too. Hey Shayna girl, what's up girl? How you doing? How you doing? Make sure you hit the like button on the way in. And congratulations. I don't know if you want me to say it on here, but congratulations to my girl. I am so happy for you. Onward and upward. So, with that being said, once they get to the house, honey, well, before they get to the house, Kiki, do you love me is pretty much telling Jay to keep it cute and mute. And pretty much she's nervous because she said when they get to the house, honey, it's about to be some drama. She knows it, she feels it, and she's telling him to keep it cute. Ooh, if she only knew what keep it cute meant in Jay's mind. But when they get to the house, they find their rooms. And of course, Tay finds the best room and she tells Cisco that, yeah, he can stay in the room with her. Okay, so I'll get to Tay later. Yeah, I'll get to Tay. So at that point, they end up enjoying each other. They're playing games. Then, of course, they make the announcement that Tay and Cisco are going to be in the same room. And Khalil doesn't like that. Okay, of course he doesn't, because he feels like Tay is his number one. So Sahara cuddles up with Jay. And at this point, we all know, at least in my opinion, that Sahara wasn't really feeling Jay that much. They was kind of cool, but she really had her eyes on Cam until Cam came with the three Monty and was like, yeah, I don't know which one to choose. So she was trying to see, let me find any man at this point so I'm not leaving here empty handed. So now she started getting up on Jay. And I would say she was getting up on him. Because let's be clear, she ended up rubbing in his inner thighs. And I said, ooh, not the inner thigh, honey. Not the inner thigh. Like literally rubbing on his inner thigh. And then he began to rub on her neck. Y'all know that's our trigger point too, was the neck. So to a certain extent, I could see where Kiara Kiki was at. She was upset. But to me, she was giving a little bit too much fatal attraction, because let's be clear, ma'am, this is a dating show. No one has made any commitments to each other yet. So I don't know. How do you guys feel about Kiara and Kiki, the way that she responded to Jay in the whole Sahara situation? Granted, I'm sure she already knew what Sahara was going to try to do. And yeah, I would say Jay and both of them were a little bit of touchy, not to mention the little smack it, flip it, rub it down moment that they was trying to imply when they first got in there. Sahara bent over. But at the end of the day, that's not your man. Now, I know in your mind you keep saying that's your man, but there is no commitments yet. You guys haven't even officially became a couple yet. So y'all let me know how y'all feel about that. But moving on with that, they sitting up there rubbing on each other, and even the other people in the house is like, what is going on here? Like, they an item. And of course Kiki like, I don't know, y'all tell me, because I didn't know they was an item. So I was just like, okay, this is about to get very interesting. So Angie, honey, Angie said she wants to know what's the difference between toxic and spicy. Okay, she wants to know. I need to know what's the difference between toxic and spicy. So they was like, spicy, you know what I'm saying? We could tolerate spicy, but Cam was like, toxic is like you showing up to my job, potentially getting me fired, like you busting windows out my car. And yeah, that's just a little bit too much. And so Angie look at him and she's like, well, what did you do? What did you do? And he was like, come again? She's like, well, what did you do to get your windows busted out your car? And so at that point, he's like, you done bust the windows out the car before? And she's like, yes, I have. And she was like, you play with me, I'm going to play with you. Child, Cam got nervous and walked away so fast. He walked away so fast and went into a whole nother room where he sat there by himself. Meanwhile, Jay tried to kiss Kiki, and Kiki ain't having it. She's like, back up, get away from me. You no longer my man. I don't want you touching me. He was like, what's up with the cold shoulder? She's like, get away. Nope, don't kiss me. All right, like step away. So then at that point, they have, of course, we'll talk about their argument, child, later. But let's talk about Cam and Angie, because this was quite interesting. Y'all let me know how y'all feel about this. But Cam was in there by himself. And then, of course, Angie walks in there and she's like, you mad at me? You mad at me? I personally think production told her to walk in there. And he was like, well, look, I'm all about having peace in my life. So my thing is this, if I do something to you, do you feel like you got to get your get back, your lick back? And she's like, no. And so she gets annoyed. He was like, what you getting annoyed for? And she was like, because I just feel like you hear what you want to hear. You asked me, the question was, have I busted windows out of a car before? And I said, yes. And I'm like, well, look, Angie girl, let's make this very, very clear. They only asked you that because of your reaction. Had you never sat there and said, well, what did you do? What did you do for you to deserve that reaction? If you play with me, I'm play with you. If you would have never said that, they wouldn't have asked you, have you busted windows out of the car? But she was like, yeah, so I'm just saying the question was asked, I answered it. Like, I don't see what the big deal is. And so at that point, she was just like, you know, I'm annoyed by this because it's over, it's done with. And he's almost kind of like, well, no, it's not over and done with because I got the answer that I needed in this situation. So at that point, Angie gets up and leaves. Cam doesn't appreciate that she got up and left because, of course, they was in the middle of a conversation. But here's my thing. This house so far has shown me that Cam is wishy-washy and he's giving me vibes that he wants his cake and eat it too. Too much aura. Like I'm at this point, he's a little shifty for me. But y'all let me know how y'all feel about that. But side note also, did y'all see when Angie and Sahara ended up giving each other a peck, a kiss on the lips? Did y'all see that? Or was it just me? And I was like, what is going on here? Now, I guess some girls just do that just to do that, but not me. But let's move on. So at that point, child, they end up having fun. Tay giving lap dances and stuff like that on Cisco, child. Even if she wanted a tip, he wouldn't be able to afford it. But they having fun. Of course, Khalil looking like, why is she doing a lap dance or whatever on Cisco? But at this point, he knows that, that is her number one. Her number one is a bum. So at that point, of course, at night, this is when Kiki, Do You Love Me, and JJ, they get into it. And when I mean get into it, they get into it. She have a temper tantrum like a 5-year-old. She making sure that she turned her whole body the opposite side of him, don't want to look at him. And she's like, you embarrass me. You embarrass me. And I told you, don't make me look stupid. Don't do nothing stupid. You didn't create boundaries. Yes, you did. Oh my gosh. And look, Jay was playing stupid. Like, I personally feel like he knew he was going to get a reaction out of her, and he maybe even wanted a reaction. I don't see how he would see that as it's not a big deal. The girl was rubbing in your inner thigh, and you was rubbing on her, and you talking about that's friends? My male friends don't sit up there and massage me, and I definitely don't massage their inner thighs. Okay, so I think he definitely wanted a reaction, and he got it. So with that being said, Khalil and Deanna. Let's talk about Deanna, y'all. I understood Kiara being upset, but she dragged this like, yeah, she sure did drag it. She dragged it to no end, girl. So let's talk about Deanna and Khalil. So Khalil tries to talk to Deanna. And I personally feel like Deanna, as beautiful as she is, she's not ready for love. She's ready for TV. He's trying to get to know her and really see what is there, if there's any chemistry there. And D pretty much says that people say that she's really masculine. And I mean, I can see that. And it's not because she's a firefighter. She's too independent. She's too independent. I mean, she pretty much says in this actual scene when Khalil says, what do you want from a man? She basically says just to take out the trash. That's all you want in a man? Is to take out the trash? How does that even make any sense? So that's when I was just like, girl, like, I don't know what walls and why you have these walls up, but you need to let them go and let them down if you really want a healthy relationship. And even Khalil was like, I don't even know what I could possibly bring to the table at this point. And so I just feel like, though, Deanna is definitely an example of so many of us women out there. We're so busy trying to be too independent that you're not allowing yourself to be a lady and to literally let someone lead in some aspects of your life. I can understand not allowing your man to lead. Of course, when you're a firefighter, you got to make sure you make split decisions that can either mean life or death. But when it comes to your relationships, she just seems like she has a guard up, and it's not attractive. And you could tell she just kind of out of it. And maybe if Eddie was still there, that wouldn't have been the case. But I feel like she does not have any type of desire to really be with any of these guys. And maybe it's the pick. I don't know. But I just feel like she definitely has her guard up. But at this point, Jay talks to Khalil about what happened with Sahara and with Kiki and the way she was reacting. Of course, he's like, man, I've been single. I didn't see it as a big deal. Like, I do this with friends or whatever the case may be. And Khalil's like, yeah, dude, but it's about her perception in the situation. And it didn't look right. So you need to sit up there and talk to her and apologize to her and try to make this right, point blank, period. So this episode, the men, because I'm doing 2 episodes, the men are in power. Baby, let me tell you something. When we got body, when it comes to these men, this is why a lot of people feel like this is like an acting improv type of thing for these shows, because what are the odds that almost every man on this show has like been hitting the gym? Baby, when I tell you Khalil is like a sexy Mufasa, that is one sexy lion, boy. When I tell you that mane that he got in that body, like, tell you stupid, just stupid. So they're in power. And then, of course, Khalil is talking about how, D, he can't really get a grip on her. And he's trying to figure out, like, are we friends or like, what are we in this situation? And then Cam got the nerve to say all three of the women that he interested in is getting on his nerves. Sir, you may potentially go home by yourself because you so busy trying to juggle all of these women, trying to make sure that they stay up under you, when clearly all three of them had no problem moving on. Rose and Angie is still looking at Hussein, and Sahara was sitting up there looking at Jay. They was not paying attention to you because you need to make a choice. So at that point, we see at the end that ultimately they're about to make their decision on who's going to be on the chopping block. And I already knew it was going to be Angie and D. Now, what I did not know is who was going to be let go. But I'm starting to figure out that it seems to me, and for those who've been watching this show, let me know, if you're at a point where you only have one more love interest left in the actual house or on the show, you're going to be automatically on the chopping block, because it's not going to bring drama. It's not going to bring ratings if you only hold on to one person and there's really no sparks or no drama or no chemistry. The reason why a Jay and a Kiki is still there is because Kiki showed her freaking crazy mentality, her crazy I will bust the windows out your car mind, and pretty much went crazy on him for disrespecting her. Therefore, that boosted the ratings. But other than that, I feel like once you're on your last leg with one person, potentially you have to go. Angie still has Cam and Hussein. So with that being said, they chose D to lead. And D was honest. She looked at Khalil and was like, yeah, I only see you as a friend. Yeah, just a friend. And Khalil was like, okay, well, if that's the case, you're not ready to love. Have a great life. And so she left. And that's so crazy because D was the first person we got introduced to on the show, and now she's gone. Yes, I know. I'm doing a live. I explained in the beginning why I'm doing a live in particular right now. And for the next show, I'm behind on these shows, so it's just easier to do a live this way. And happy birthday, Shayla girl. Happy birthday. So yeah, so with that being said, they kicked Deanna off. Now the problem is that leaves Khalil with only one interest, which is Tay. So let's get into it. So they sitting up there playing little games or whatever, having their fun or whatnot. And I guess to a certain extent, it was cute, just a little bit. But before we even get into the rest of the drama, Cam was talking to Angie about how he didn't like the whole situation about the bust the windows out the car. And she's like, yeah, like she's happy, like she did it, like, yeah, I did it. And what? And so at that point, he was like, I didn't like the way that you walked away from me when we was having a conversation. She was like, well, didn't you walk away from me too? When you heard that I bust windows out the car, like, didn't you walk away from me? He said, I mean, I walked away from the group. I walked away from the group. But if it was just you by yourself, I wouldn't walk away from you like that because I'm about communication. And she's like, okay. And so he was like, but at the end of the day, you're still ready to love. And she was like, duh. So in other words, she was like, duh, I'm ready to love. And guess what? If you keep messing with me, I will still bust the windows out your car. So at this point, we have everybody enjoying themselves. They having a good old time. And then Tay and Khalil sit down. Let me take a drink before I go in. Excuse me. Okay. Tay and Khalil sit down. And so Khalil admits that apparently, because I don't even remember this conversation, but apparently Tay told them that 2 to 3 years tops to having kids, that she wants to be married and she wants to have a child within 2 to 3 years. Khalil says, if I can be honest with you, that is not my timeline. My timeline is 4 to 5 years. You would have thought he said 6 to 10 years, 7 to 10 years. It's really honestly only potentially a 1 year difference. Tay's like, That's a deal breaker for me. You knew that what I wanted marriage and I wanted babies, or at least a baby within 2 to 3 years. And he was like, yeah, I get it. He was like, but I wanted to let you know because at the end of the day, I want to be able to enjoy my partner for several years before we end up having babies. She's in the confessional like, I ain't trying to have no kid at 40. Girl, it is so many women having kids at 40 now. 40s, okay? Technology, science, and just our bodies in general have changed, all right? She sits up there and says a deal breaker, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And so at that point, she was like, well, where do we go from here? And Khalil was like, well, I guess if it's a situation where you're not trying to compromise, I guess we can be friends. And at that point, I said, he's about to get kicked off the show. Now, let's make this very clear. Tay's first choice is a man who literally has no lease or mortgage in his name. So technically, I guess by society standards, he is homeless. No car. I think maybe, just maybe, he mentioned he had a job, but he truly is the definition of rock bottom. You mean to tell me you willing to be married and have a kid with him when it's probably going to take him years to get back on his feet? You rather deal with him than a man who is stable financially. No kids. I don't think he mentioned he had any kids. No, nothing. And he is saying he would prefer 4 to 5 years. You talking about 2 to 3 years. There's only a 1 year difference. And you mean to tell me that's a deal breaker and automatically you're going to go with Cisco, who literally can't even give you anything but quality time? Tay is the definition of an educated idiot. And there's plenty of them. Beautiful, educated, but literally only leading with their heart and not their mind. At a certain point, when you get a certain age, you have to start thinking with your brain and not just your heart. You also have to understand that it should be about, at a certain point in your life, what you need versus what you want. Okay? I think she just likes Cisco because I think she likes his physique and how he looks. That he's tall and towers over her. He doesn't even give me a great personality. He just gives me caveman vibes, and she feels protected by him. That's it. But at my age, I'm going to go with the guy who has stability. And she literally said that was a deal breaker for her, and that's it. That's all. You're an idiot. Cisco cannot bring anything to the table at all whatsoever, you dumb. And you decide that range, that difference of a year is going to be a deal breaker for you when you're already in your mid-30s. Really? And we're going to get back to her later. But Angie finally opens up to Hussein about how she needs a man that really means what he says what he means. And when he says that he really has her, he has her. Now, for some reason, I thought that she was the oldest of 11 kids. She is the youngest of 11 kids. And I'm really confused as to how the youngest of 11 kids has all of that drama and burden on her. Usually the youngest is the one who's the most spoiled, because their older siblings also are kind of like their parents too. So how is the youngest one having all of this burden on her? So something tells me that Angie probably has this martyr complex where she purposely wants to sacrifice herself just so she could feel like she's important or feel loved. Because I was like, when they replayed it and said she's the youngest of 11 and her phone is always off the hook, I said, why? The oldest siblings are usually, or even the middle siblings, are the ones who usually pick up the pieces and even pick up the pieces for you. So, but she was honest with Hussein, and Hussein pretty much said he understood that, and he's all about holding his woman down, okay? Holding his woman down. I was going to show the picture of Kiara and Jay when they was outside, but I could not get a good picture of him without these big old deodorant balls under his armpits or on his freaking shirt. Gentlemen, let me explain something to y'all. We don't want y'all funky by any means, but there is clear deodorant at this point. There is all different types of deodorant where you do not have to have clumps of white deodorant under your arms. I can't stand it. It is a pet peeve of mine. Don't even think about wrapping your arms around me with all of that freaking deodorant on you. And I can't even imagine if it was hot. You know they sweat. We all sweat, but especially them with hair under their arms, they sweat. Can you imagine that stuff dripping on? Ugh. So I didn't want to show that picture. Okay, but we gonna talk about it. So Jay goes out and talks to Kiki and pretty much says, you know, look, ain't nothing between me and Sahara. And he was like, well, she was like, let me go get Sahara. Let me go get Sahara. Sahara, can you come out here? Because you need to let her know, because you claiming y'all ain't got nothing going on. So talk about it and say it. And so at that point, Kiki says, oh, yes, girl. You remember that LL Cool J Unplugged? It's like, what is up with these? But again, LL Cool J Unplugged was back in the late 80s, early 90s. We have now advanced in different types of deodorants, okay? They even have the spray-on deodorant. They have all different types of deodorant. There is no reason for all of that. Like, it's no reason. But anywho, back to her. So she calls Sahara out there and she was like, so Sahara, you saying that you have a connection with Jay? And she was like, I do. At least I thought I did. And Jay like, Sahara, do I ever hit you up doing this? Have I ever hugged you? Have I ever called you bae or anything like that? Sahara's like, no. I know you haven't, but I mean, I don't see what the big deal is. Like, you know, are y'all a couple? And Kiki's like, no, we're not a couple. She's like, okay, so what's the big deal? It's a dating show. We're trying to get to know each other. Like, I don't understand what the big issue is. And I was like, I don't understand it either, girl. I'm with you on this because it did not make sense to me how hard she went in that situation when it has not been official. But again, in my personal opinion, she's very territorial. So she wanted to make it clear to Sahara, don't mess with Jay. Period. And she can claim that she's more upset with Jay, but she also had an issue with Sahara too. She had an issue because she felt like Sahara was trying to just get with Jay just because she wasn't interested at that much in Cam anymore because Cam has other options. And Kiki, right? Because Sahara wasn't even thinking about no Jay, at least from what we see. She wasn't thinking about no Jay at all whatsoever until she felt like Cam was playing games. So at that point, Sahara's just like, you know what? Y'all can have this conversation. I ain't got time for this nonsense. I don't see what the big deal is. But at that point, he's trying to talk to Kiki, and Kiki still leaves him and plays him in the dust and was like, I ain't got time for this. Bye. And he was like, what, you gonna leave like that? And that's when you really saw the chalk armpits under y'all. I'm telling you, I can't stand that. I cannot stand that. It is disgusting to me. Do better. Do better. So, anywho, Cam realizes that he's not that dude, and all of his love interests are pretty much seeking other places at this point. So he's trying to get back on Rose's good side. And he like, why you ain't paying attention to me? You seem to be all under Hussein. And she said, I'm sorry, I was trying to give you space because I don't know if I'm your number one, your number two, your number three. So I was giving you space. And he was just like, well, you know, you ain't got to give me space or whatever. You know, we could talk. And he trying his best, you know, to get in good with her, but she is googly eyed for Hussein, baby. Hussein is her guy at the end of the day. But of course, Cam is trying to do everything he can to try to pull her back in. Yeah, I think it's a no-go at this point, but hey, it is what it is. In my personal opinion, Cam is playing too many games. You got 3 women you're interested in, sir. It seemed to me you can't make up your mind in life in general. And I'm gonna need for you to get it together. So let's talk about it. The massage scene, let's talk about it. So Cisco gives Tay a massage with probably 99-cent store oil. And she is so hyped up over this. Just so hyped up. Make sure you guys hit the like button. Hit the like button. She is so hyped up over this because she's like, no one has ever given me a massage before. And I'm like, that's all it takes? A massage? A massage. That's all it takes. A cheap massage at that. She's getting her massage, and he's like, saying, I feel like we can continue this, and as long as you got my back, and I feel like we'll be good. And she's like, I feel so too. And then he sits up there and tells her to come like and face her, or face him, and he's massaging her back, and they kiss, and she's like, I feel the magic. I feel the magic. And I'm like, you need to feel the money. You need to feel the provider in him. A massage ain't paying the bills. A massage ain't gonna sit up there and take care of the kids. Like, and not to mention, this man was married. And I don't know if he had children, but he made it seem like when his marriage was over, he lost everything. And usually when that happens, there's usually some kids involved. I don't know if he has kids, but with that being said, she was just so in awe over this simple massage and a kiss. I appreciate little things, but you can't just give me little things all the time. You got to do big things too. So while you pretty much enjoying this massage, you should be asking him, what is his 2-year plan? What is he planning on doing to get out of his situation? But you're so in awe of how he looks and trying to tiptoe around his feelings. You have to question why a man that age is willing to come on this show knowing he doesn't have his stuff together. In my opinion, he's trying to find a target, an easy target. She do need to feel that money. And so at that point, she's thinking like, oh, he is the one. So when she goes to the confessional in the vault, she said, Cisco, he's so good with his hands. Does his hands do anything to make money? Can his hands go into a wallet and pay a bill? Can his hands go into a wallet to take care of your necessities? Can his hands go into a wallet and take care at least of your maintenance of your hair and nails every month? Something. But she is truly invested in a bum at her old age. She's too old to be making these type of decisions. But she literally is glowing thinking of the thought of Cisco, but then she wants to diss Khalil, saying he said he don't want to have kids for another 5 to 6 years. Ma'am, he said 4 to 5. You added a 6 in there. Either way, I would compromise with that man and see if we could find a middle ground before I compromise with a bum. Period. And literally, this man got his own family business that's been successful. Hard worker. I think he said he was a roofer, a roofing company. That's some hard work. Are you crazy? Oh, Tay, you disappointed me. You still my girl in my head. Beautiful girl, educated, a nurse. And yet you making these dumb decisions? There is no way. I don't care how fine you think that man is. Fine, don't pay the bills. I will date Shabba Ranks. Shabba. As long as he's a provider and he take care of the household and he's loyal and loves me, I would date a Shabba before I date a sexy buff bum. Anywho, so then we literally have Rose, we have Angie, and we have Sahara. Okay. And they talking about Cam. But Rose is googly eye over Hussein. But she sits up there and says, yeah, Cam, I just know him on a different level than the other women do. And at that point, Sahara's like, levels, levels. I mean, ma'am, how would you know what level we on? And Rose says, because I take the time to know my person. Let me tell y'all something. Rose is really good on putting on a front. But I feel like there is some toxic traits in Rose like no other. She slipped up and kind of showed some of it when Fritz was there, and Fritz said that we could do a surrogate. And she's like, I ain't about to have nobody carry my baby. And the way that she just flipped like that, going from this sweet spiritual person to I ain't about to do it. And for her to make a comment like that, and Sahara was like, I feel like she was trying to play me. Yeah, I think so too. Because who are you to say that you know him on a different level and you take time to know someone versus them? You don't know that. You don't know what they do or what's going on. So yeah, I feel like she was being very slick and passive aggressive. There's definitely another side of Sahara. I mean, not side of Sahara. It's another side of Rose. It's another side of Angie, just like there's another side of Cam. I feel like with Sahara, what you see is what you get. She will lay it all out there, which is the reason why, in my personal opinion, that's why either men are kind of hesitant towards her, or they either like it or they don't. But I'm assuming a lot more men are hesitant because they like to be a little mysterious. They like to, see and peel back the layers. There's no peeling back of the layers with Sahara because she puts everything on the table right there up front and says, take it or leave it. And I can respect that as far as just how she is on the show, because she's entertaining because she's like that. But as far as a relationship is concerned, that's probably why guys are like, there's no mystery about her. But oh baby, there is definitely some toxic traits when it comes to Rose and that Angie. So with that being said, at that point, they talk about Jay. And of course, Kiki was talking about how she was upset with Jay and how Jay did this and Jay did that. So I was like, okay, at this point, it's about to be Khalil and it's about to be Jay. So of course, Khalil and Jay are on the chopping block. What I found very cowardly, is that Rose is the one who had to tell Khalil, Tay, why weren't you up there? Why didn't you tell Khalil? I don't know production picks, but I feel like since you was the one who was so turned off and you had the connection with that man, you should have been the one telling him why he's not ready for love. Is it just me? But I feel like she should have been the one. But it wasn't her. It was Rose. And Rose told Khalil he's not ready to love. Meanwhile, Jay stays, even though Jay was still trying to defend his handsy ways. But Sexy Mufasa has left the building. Sexy Mufasa, who liked to nibble on a little booty, he's gone. You had a man who was successful, who is a sexy lion, who likes to nibble on booty. Like, Tay, what is wrong with you? Ugh. I just can't, y'all. We got to do better. We have to do better. Yes, when we get to a certain age, we can't just be following our googly eye heart. We need to be realistic and say, who is the best man for my needs? Not my wants, my needs. And the basic needs is at least that you can take care of yourself and you can help me take care of me too. Even if I don't need you to help me, the whole point is, it's nice to have a man who's a provider that will come in with the groceries, that will come in and at least pay half of the mortgage. I would prefer for him to pay all the mortgage, but half would do if you paying other things in the house. But we ain't hearing none of that from her. We just hearing that she feels protected and he doesn't lie. Mind you, Cisco even admitted that he's a cheater. Cisco even admitted that he don't even deal with his own mama. And here's Khalil. I don't think he mentioned that he's ever cheated before. He went to boarding school, seems very disciplined about his business. Tay, you a freaking idiot. 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 You stupid. This don't even make no freaking sense. So with that being said, y'all, that was the end of the episode. I did 2 episodes tonight because, again, I was behind. That's why I'm doing these lives. I'm about to do another live in a minute. I'm actually probably going to need to take about 15 minutes before I hop in on the other live because I need to get some libations, get some more drink so I can do the other live. But yeah, that was it. That was all. I'm annoyed. So at this point, we only have Hussein, Rose, Angie, Sahara, Kiki and Jay, and Tay and Cisco. Right? Yeah. Oh, and Cam. I done forgot about him, that fool. My guess, Hussein and Rose. Who's gonna be at the end of this? Hussein and Rose. Unfortunately, I feel like it could be Cisco and Tay too. But here's the thing: the next episode, they gotta meet the family. And it looked like Cisco wasn't happy about that because he don't even deal with his own mama. So maybe that will be the deal breaker depending on what that family says. But he ain't stupid. He ain't about to get anyone who's gonna be on the show who's gonna give the real. So he probably gonna have one of his line brothers, one of his frat brothers, pretend like he a cousin or something, or a brother, an actual brother, and just sing him praises. I want to meet his mama. That's where we get down to nitty gritty. Because when your own mama don't want you to stay with her, yeah, it's a problem. That's a problem. But with that being said, you guys, thank you guys so much for listening. Definitely leave your comments below in the comment section. What do y'all feel about Tay? Like, Tay was my girl. Like, when she first came on, I was like, her and D. I was like, yes. But she is turning into a beautiful, educated, pretty, full mess. I'm disappointed. So let's continue the conversation. Please like, share, and subscribe. And I will see you on my next video. Toodles.